Now what we have to do is that we want to add something to the title and like track it continuously. Like we should set up a live tracking so that whenever it changes it get directly updated in the background. Okay, so we can do it with the help of directives. We will be talking more about that further, but like suppose ng module is a directive, we can use that, and in that we can like use two-way binding, which will help us to get the track of value. And ng module is just a like a directive is just like a component, but we don't have to get the like template file for that directive, but for component we have to get the template file as well. So directive is just like a component is like a directive with that file. Okay. and 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 we will be using normal directive, so we don't have to add a template file to it. Okay, and it will do the same thing, like it will enhance the properties of the like on the element at which we are using it, so it will enhance its properties, so it will do that only. So I have to like add live tracking to these three objects. Okay, what we will do, we will go to our code. Okay, we will go to firstly the new tasks, and we will directly in the HTML file we will directly add a module, like an ng module to it. Sorry, ng module is something different that we will talk about later, but we will be adding ng model that will help us to enhance the properties of on the element that we are on which we are using it, and the property which we want to access. So we can set up a live tracking on the text whenever uh, like a keystroke happens, it will get updated with that. So this is about directives, and we will be using it further in our practice. So it is an important thing, since only directives can use the two-way binding format, and we don't know yet how to use it on directives and property. We will be learning about that later. So I'm just adding my directive here, ng model. You can see directly we can get this ng model. This is a directive. Okay, we have not added the binding yet, so it is just binded by these two, like the square brackets and the round brackets. Okay, so this is called two-way binding on a directive. And here on the binding thing we will just add binding in our new task, the TypeScript file. So what we will do that we will be just making and NTER. Suppose we will just make a property enter title which should take the input as a string. Okay, in our new task component, the class, and then you can also add entered summary as well, and similarly entered due date as well. You can just simply add date. So we have added the bindings. Okay, and then this binding we can import this binding so that to our that HTML file, so that we can track it. We can get a live tracking of that binding, and then the enter title will store like the title. So in imports we have to firstly import a form module so that we can use this enter title thing on our like directives. So import, we want import we have to import forms module. Okay, import form module from Angular forms. Okay, and then here in so like we have imported this forms module. So what this forms module do is like it helps us to use the ng modules. Okay, we will be talking about ng modules later, but we can this helps us to use this enter title in our directive. So when we will go back in place of bindings we can add enter title. Okay, so it is now binded. Now coming to the next summary, also we can add G model. Summary. Okay, and similarly we can copy this enter title, sorry, enter date. Okay, this is completed. For that, for this to work we can like actually show one more thing here. Like we can just copy this and paste this, and we can name it as title 2, title 2, title 2. Okay, done. When we will go to our website, you can see two titles are there, and whenever I add a text to it, I can see that it is like it is taking the input, sorry, it is taking the input and as well as giving the output as well. Both the things it is doing at the same time. Okay, both input and output thing it is doing. It is like live, it is updating live. So whenever I delete this, it get deleted, so it gets outputted and then inputted as well. Okay, so this is an example to show how this works. Now I can just delete this thing that I added. Now I can see that this is completed now. Whenever I open this and add a task summary as well, and it is like updating and like lively it is updating. It will not create. Now we have to add this create button. We make it functionable. This is how we can like live update things and use directives. Now coming to our website, what we want to do is we have to save our data. Okay, so we can see to submit the form. So whenever we click that create button, okay, when we click on this, when we use this submit type, okay, what usually what happens is our browser automatically tries to send a request to our server to use this submit data or to take the input from the submit data. Okay, whenever we presses this submit button, so this was happens technically, but here we are like we are not using that, like we are not using a functionality to like that we created a server and like hosted our site on a live server, but whether we are using this index HTML file only. So to control that thing, what what happens is when we imported this forms module, this directly gives the Angular a functionality, so that Angular gives us this functionality after importing this form module, so that we can like this form function, like form this element directly stores, like directly takes control of our submitted data that we submitted when we press the submit button. So it directly takes control of that, and we can just add a event like uh, what we can say that event binding, and use this ng submit button, and we can like control this. Now we can control this with our code, so we can now control the input that is submitted uh, like in our code as well. So we can just add here a new, for that I will add a new method here on submit. Okay, it's lacking one. Hmm. And now we can bind this method to our HTML file, to our this ng submit property, the event binding, and then we can call submit. What was this? On submit. Okay, okay, we have done it here. Function and event binding should be invoked on submit. Okay, okay, now we have called the on submit method here. So that's how we can like control the data that is submitted after clicking on this button. Now what we have to do is we have to like save, add a new task, so this data should be saved when we click on this create button. So we have already like triggered the directives derivatives here, so that it can be updated live. So now we have to just save the data. So for that, what we will do is, what should happen here is like from new task, the data should be like transferred to the task model, and then saved to the task component, that is the main component. So basically we have to do that. So for that, firstly we will go to our new task component, the TypeScript file, and then this on submit, but like method we created, and now we will add data to this, so that this can help us to add the data and call it on submitting. So we can call it by on an HTML file. So if this enter title, okay, this is showing that it should be a summary, but we have already, it should be a string, but we have already described here that it should be a string, so we will not use this if option, so we can just ignore it. And now what is, this will come. Okay, now we are getting this error in a task does not exist in, oh sorry, instead of this add task we will use this add button. Date, for that this enter date, enter date, it should be closed, and then this should come. Okay, now firstly we have to let output the add uh, button here, sorry, the add property here. So we'll use this output, this add should be new event emitter, event emitter, and it should emit something, and then close it like this. And then okay, so inside this we have to like emit our title string and title summary and the date. Okay, so we will just add title it should be a string. Summary should also be a string. Summary and date should also be a string. Okay. It should take this object as an argument. Okay, now it will work. So you can see we are not getting any error here. We are calling this add property from this output, and we are outputting the data that we are saving here, and then from here we will we can do one thing, that instead of using this thing again and again, we can just copy it and use it as a reusable property in our already created this file. So we can export this as well as an interface. Export interface new task data title string summary string date string. Okay, it is done. Now we can just copy this, go to our component. Instead of this, we can just paste this. Okay, it should not be a so now we have to just import that, import new data from this data. Instead of this two, one should come. Now task slash task. Okay, now it is done. Now you can see we are successfully using this object interface that we created. Now coming to our this file we have successfully created. Why it is showing error here? Okay, now it is okay. String is successfully edited, and after that we have, so we can just define it as a type for like our convenience. And now what we can do is we can go to our task component file, which is our main file. So we have made changes here and here as well in our task module. Now what we will do here, we have to just import our new task component here. It's already imported. Okay. So we have to just new task data we have to import here. Define workflow. Now coming to here, we have to just add a new method which is on add task data should be a new task data. Okay, so what is happening is we are pushing it instead of push. We can like to add at the starting of the array, we can use this unshift command, and we are just what are we doing here? We are just calling like this IDs, this data from here. Okay, so the added data should be stored in this format only, and the this respective property is calling the data from where it is storing it. So for ID, what we are doing is new date. So we are getting the ID is this get time to string. Okay, so here we are using this, and user ID equals to this dot user ID. Why it is showing error? Type string undefined is not assignable to type string. Okay, I have not changed my user ID, I think. So yeah, what we updated this, and this user ID, it is getting data from here. It is defined here, so it is taking input from here. Now when we call this on add task thing on our component, like the HTML file, we can just store our data in this format when we add a click listener to it. So this title is it's calling this task data, which is from here, and from here is it will be like getting the data in this format. So when we go to this new task data, so it is in these three are getting the data from there, and we just created our ID and user ID data. We called it, and then this adding task should add this argument as well in case of like emptying, if the data is set as empty, so that it can rerun. So now we just have to add this on our HTML file. On this new task, we can add an argument. We can add this event listener. Sorry, event binding. It should be add on add task method we are calling, and then we are just uh, telling that it is an event listener. Okay, so after that changes, we are not getting any error, I think. And when we will see, we can just add a task title test summary. This is a test, and date we can add like today's date. Create, we can see our data is created, and it is created on the user that we selected. On that user only it is created, not to every user. So this is the thing about Angular, that it helps us to manage our data efficiently and flexibly. You can just do this to like see that our task is completed now. So this is how it is done. So now our application is almost completed. We will just learn about some ng modules and some other things.